السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم. I welcome my brothers and sisters. There are sisters here. My brothers and sisters in Islam bi'idhnillahi ta'ala to this short pre-khutbah talk. You find usually in the Arab lands that when someone goes for the khutbah on the day of Friday, you find that the imam comes in, the khatib comes in, he comes up onto the mimbar and he begins the khutbah. And this was the practice during the time of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and up till today. But due to the fact that in the lands of the A'ajim, in the lands of the non-Arabs, they felt, well, the fact that most of the people do not understand the Arabic language, then it might make sense to introduce this pre-Jummah talk, where some would call it a bayan, a lecture, whatever it might be, in the language of the people. So we hold on and we keep to the Arabic khutbah and we have this pre-Jummah talk. So bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, for the next 25 minutes, the brothers have given me the opportunity to address you. And before the few minutes that we were seated here, I noticed that the brother puts together this camera here and he comes with a fancy recorder here which I've never seen before in my life. So I asked him, do people usually have this camera and recorder here every single week? He says, no, we don't. So why do you have it this week? He says, no, we have a YouTube channel, so we want to put up the video on YouTube. Subhanallah. I mean, you know, the technology just coming into the masjid left, right and center, not necessarily a bad thing, not necessarily a good thing. We had in the past, for example, the introduction of the digital watch in the masjid. You have one here and you have the old watch in the back there. Then eventually we came up with a timer like this here, so at least it saved the muaddin time and effort. Once the month we program it, and for the rest of the month all is well, all is good. But subhanAllah, somewhere a line has to be drawn. Why? What could happen? Like for example, those of you, especially in Sandton, you might have an iPad. Someone asks the question, if I'm using my iPad, am I allowed to use the iPad without being in a state of wudu? Can I turn the pages on the iPad when I'm not in a state of wudu? You have your iPhones, you have the phone that you have with you all the time, you have the mushaf, you have the whole Quran on it. In fact, more than the Quran, you might have tafsir and ahadith and everything on it. And then you take it and you want to go into the toilet, and so the question comes up, am I allowed to take it into the toilet? Technology, and that's a contemporary mas'ala, a contemporary issue. What's the answer? Am I allowed to take that phone into the toilet? Yes, no, maybe. Doctor, what's your name, Sheikh? Are you allowed to take that phone in the toilet? No. Why? Because it has the Quran in it. Okay, Jayyid. So can't you leave it outside? Would you leave your phone outside? Your iPhone, your Samsung Galaxy, would you leave it outside a South African public toilet and go into the toilet? Would you do that, Sheikh? You wouldn't. So what do? Is it allowed for this man to go into the toilet with that phone?
Yes.
Yes or no? Yes. Who said yes? Yes, doctor. Why yes?
Because there are some ulamas that relating like, it's just like you having to memorize it in your brain. Then how would you now go?
Exactly, doctor. Mumtaz, mashallah. Exactly, the Hafiz al-Quran, can he go to the toilet? Is a Hafiz al-Quran allowed to go to the toilet? Or is he not? He's allowed to go to the toilet, yes. So if the Hafiz al-Quran, who has the entire Quran in his heart, if he's allowed to go into the toilet, then obviously it would be permissible for me to take this jawal, this phone, and go into the toilet. But obviously, the Hafiz al-Quran is not reciting in the toilet, and so on the screen of your phone, you do not have the Quran on the screen. Jayyid. And subhanAllah, with regards to the iPhone and all your other phones, touching the screen when you have the Quran on, would that be allowed, or do I have to be in a state of wudu? I cannot touch this Quran here except in a state of wudu. I have to take a full wudu, then I touch the pages. What about the screen of that phone? What about your iPad? And subhanAllah, those of you who have the iPad especially, turning the pages of the iPad is just like turning the pages of the book. In fact, sometimes it's more real, subhanAllah. So what's the ruling there? I'm not touching the actual page, I'm touching the screen. So technically, if I'm touching the screen, I do not have to be in a state of wudu. Majority, or rather most of the contemporary scholars are of the opinion that it is not the Mus'haf. It is not the Quran. And so you are touching the screen. And what's beyond the screen? It's only pixels. It's like touching the screen of the TV. It's pixels. And so it would be permissible for you to touch it when you are not in the state of wudu. But subhanAllah, maybe 5, 10, 15 years from now, you would not have all of these Qur'ans in the masjid. You'd have 20 iPads here, and obviously in South Africa, you'd have them all chained down. And so the people come into the masjid, and everyone puts on that iPad, and they read whatever juz you want, Surah Kahf, best Surah Kahf, and it comes up. And that might happen. And so maybe the fatwa might change at that time, because there's no books around. Do we say no one needs to take wudu any longer? Only wudu for salah? No, then maybe they might say, but the fact that the only mushafs we are using, the only Qur'ans we are using are these Qur'ans, and so one needs to take wudu. But also, subhanAllah, I mean, that might be acceptable. Last Ramadan, I was in Saudi Arabia, and one of the masajid went to the masjids, and this Imam, subhanAllah, what beautiful recitation, fantastic, beautiful. And I was in the first saf. After first to second rak'ah, while in salah, I just looked at him, and then I noticed he's holding up his phone, and he is reading from the Quran on his phone. And so whatever beautiful recitation he might have had, the opinion now I have of him totally was destroyed. We're not discussing the mas'ala whether you can hold the mushaf or not. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, her slave, used to lead her in salah, and he used to hold and lead from the mushaf. He was not a hafiz al-Quran. And obviously that was probably stone. And so technically holding the phone might be easier. So his salah is still valid. But do you want a hafiz al-Quran or anyone, imam, to lead the prayer while leading you, and he's reading from his iPad or he's reading from his phone? Even as beautiful as his recitation might be, you'd prefer someone who has less tajweed as long as he's reading from his memory. And if we don't stop it somewhere, it might go further and further. Like, you know, in some countries, you have central adhan, where, for example, I mean, we have so many mu'adhineen, and we have to pay them salaries, and things are bad, we're in the credit crunch. So what did they do? You have, like, example, in Cairo, for many of the masajid. From one central database, the adhan will be given, and this will be relayed to all the masjids in Cairo. Why, they said? It says because sometimes the mu'adhin, he's asleep. Sometimes the mu'adhin, it's night time, and he's giving the adhan for Salatul Fajr, and he's confused, he does not know what's happening. And so to remove all of this confusion, and to obviously save salaries, we have the central adhan, and it relays out to all of the masajid. So when you hear this adhan, do you reply to the mu'adhin, or is this not a mu'adhin? This is a tape. This is some sort of tape recorder. Maybe there's a mu'adhin giving the adhan, maybe not. Maybe it's this beautiful adhan of Shaykh Abdul Basit Abdul Samad. But he passed away years ago. So the question then is this a legitimate adhan? Because for adhan, it's an act of worship. And for every act of worship, you require intention. The tape recorder, when it's being played, does it have intention? When you hear the recording of an adhan, is that adhan? The adhan on your phone, when you hear it, do you have to respond to that mu'adhin? The answer is no. Why? It's a recording. It does not have intention. Adhan is an act of worship. This, what is being played, is just something which was recorded. And so that's a mas'ala. And if we don't stop there, it might go even further. Maybe 20, 30, 50 years from now, they might say, well, subhanAllah, you know, yes, now we sorted out the mu'adhineen. Now the imams also, we have so much of problems with them, and this issue and that issue, and Hanafi and Shafi and Mushkil and problems. Why don't we just have, you know, this type of device here? It's like a small phone. You put it down there, you press a button. What number of rakahs do you want? 4 rakahs of Salatul Dhuhr, press there, and this 3D imam comes up, and he leads you in salah, subhanAllah. Whose recitation do you want? 20 years ago, Imam Sudais, there was an imam called Sudais, he was alive in the Haram of Makkah. You want his recitation? No problem. Salatul Taraweeh with his recitation. And that might be the imam after that, and subhanAllah. And then the musallis will just be waiting until they come out with a device for the musallis, so he can just leave it in the masjid and he can remain at home. Allah mustaan, Allah mustaan. Ala kulli hal, no doubt, with regards to benefiting from the dunya and benefiting from civilization and technology, etc., the deen is there in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's His domain. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set out for us, the deen. We do not invent in the religion. The basic rule with regards to the deen is everything is haram until proven otherwise. As for the dunya, everything is allowed. All of this technology, the basic rule is that it is permissible until proven otherwise. And so if we have this digital imam, then obviously this would be something which would not be allowed. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, in the next 15 minutes that we have left, the topic for discussion was going to be, and still is, a Muslim is a brother to his fellow Muslim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the noble Quran states, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً. Verily the believers, they are brothers to one another. If every single one of you had to look on his right, had to look on his left, then next, in fact, look at the person on your right, look at the person on your left, subhanAllah. I mean, sometimes, this Salatul Jama'ah, what was the reason for its legislation from amongst the wisdoms, is that this Muslim comes together with his brother Muslim 5 times every single day. And if he's unable to do that, then at least on the day of Friday, he comes to this last gathering, as you know in many places, the Masjid al-Jami' Masjid, like in Bombay, like in many of the other places. You have many small masajid, and then you have the Jami' Masjid, where everyone goes for the Friday prayer. And so we come together, we get to know one another, we stand next to one another, shoulder to shoulder. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, and the Sharia wants, aim and objective, that you have this unity between one another. If outwardly we have unity, then bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, inwardly we'd also have this unity. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam states that line up your safs, let it be straight, and they would straighten it like an arrow would be straightened. Can you shoot a cockeyed arrow? No, it might come back and hit you, but rather that arrow has to be straight. And so they would, as the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam would state, that have your safs very much straight. And so the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam states, if you do not have it straight, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would cause for your hearts to also cause division between the hearts. There would not be this unity between the hearts. If you're straight, shoulder to shoulder, etc., then bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, this outward unity will build inward unity. You all know, you purchase a new BMW, and for the past 20 years you had a Toyota Corolla. Now when you're driving on the street, automatically you take notice of the other BMWs out there. 3 Series BMW, there's something that me and you have in common with one another. And you sell that and you buy a Mercedes-Benz. While you're driving this C-Class Mercedes-Benz, you notice, oh, that guy's got a black one, that guy's got a white one. You notice the people who drive this similar car to you. You're driving an old car, well, that man at least, he knows, what worth there is in this old car, etc. He values it. You notice this. Why? You're in some country and you notice this brother who's got a beard. You just know, alhamdulillah, that's a Muslim there. I can go up to him, I can ask him something. Where's the qibla? Where do I pray? Where's halal food, etc. Outward unity builds inward unity. And if we are united inside, then bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, we will be united outside. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً. You looked at the brother on your right and the brother on your left. The brother might be Gujarati, the brother might be Surti, might be Memon, might be Cockney, might be Urdu. He might be Somali, subhanAllah. Maybe, in the old days, we only had the Indians, and now and then we had someone who came from Cape Town, etc. So, we have a Shafi in the Masjid Jail. Everyone looks at him, subhanAllah, anything he's doing different from us, he must be Shafi. But in reality today, we're living in a totally cosmopolitan society. You have next to you the Somali brother. You have next to you here the Hanbali brother. You have that Salafi brother there. You have this person in front. You have some Shia. You have people, different colors, different sorrows and joys also in their lives. The brother next to you, subhanAllah, maybe his uncle passed away last week. The brother on the left of you, maybe subhanAllah, 2 days ago he got married. And so he's on the 7th heaven, and this brother here, he's somewhere else. Allahu musta'an. But what unites every single one of them? Sulaiman, Iqbal, Ilyas, Muhammad. I came all the way from Durban, do not know anyone in this masjid from above, so, except 1 or 2 brothers. What unites us? The only common denominator which unites us is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Imagine you go for Hajj. You're there and you have this Bosnian brother next to you. You have this Somalian brother next to you on the other side there. You have this Arab brother in front of you. You have this brother from Africa. You have this poor brother all the way from Australia, from one of the Russian republics. The only common denominator between every single one of them, they cannot even make a conversation with one another. And those of you who've gone for Hajj, you know, you try to talk to this man. In fact, you sat there 15, 20 minutes, you had a conversation. You don't know a word from his language, he does not know a word from your language. But how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows for this conversation to take place. What's the common denominator between both of you? La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Nothing else bonds us except that. That is the common, and that is the glue between every single Muslim. And that's the minimum level. And if you want to go further than the minimum level, then to love your brother for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam states in the famous hadith which you all know in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, that there will be 7 who will be under the shade of the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Yawm al-Qiyamah. What's the benefit of being under that shade on Yawm al-Qiyamah? So I have nice shade. What's the benefit of having shade on Yawm al-Qiyamah? Anyone? What's the benefit of shade on that day? Where would the sun be? The sun would be above your heads. And we would be drowning in accordance to our own sins. And that's why the mu'adhineen, that's why we do not want to do away with the mu'adhins. Why? Because أطول الناس أعناقا يوم القيامة المؤذنون. The people with the longest necks on Yawm al-Qiyamah would be the mu'adhins. What's the benefit of having a long neck on Yawm al-Qiyamah? You'd be above your sweat, inshaAllah. And so people would be running from one to the other. People would come to the Anbiya that let the resurrection start. Rather I go to Jahannam is better. Me waiting here, this is worse. Rather I know where I'm headed, it will be better. SubhanAllah. And from one prophet to the other, each one would say, not for me. I committed a mistake, I caused a lie, I did this, I did that. Until they come to Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he would say, yes, it's for me. He would bow down before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and praise Allah, appraising that he never knew before. Words would only come to him on that day. And after that, the resurrection would start. After that, the a'mal, etc. would be weighed, etc. Now, the 7 categories of people who would be under the shade of Allah would be those who met one another for no reason except for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why did you people come here? No one was giving any money here. But you know that there is a duty upon you, that on this day of Friday, leave the work, whatever, and we come for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I gather with my brothers here, I pray Salatul Jama'ah, and this refreshes me. This increases and nourishes my iman, and then I go back to work, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So those who meet for no other reason except for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala in Sahih Muslim narrates that an angel came down, narrates from the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that an angel came down and followed this man. And came up to this man and asked this man, why have you gone to a certain place? The man said, because I wanted to visit my brother. Maybe this man lent you some money. Maybe he helped you out one day. Maybe he's got some sort of hold over you, some right over you. That's why you want to visit him? The man said, no, nothing like that. I only want to visit him just because he's my brother. That's all, no other reason. The angel came in the form of a man. The angel then said to this man that I am an angel of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I have been sent to inform you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you. Only reason he's going to meet this man is what? Is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no other reason. And that hadith in Sahih Muslim. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and we know that society, what type of society was that? Maybe today, the brothers are a bit rosary, brothers have, watered themselves down. During the time of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, these were Arabs of the desert. There were some who would bury their own daughters alive. They would have enmity and hatred against tribes due to some sort of conflict that they had maybe 50 years ago. Hard hearts at times. They would name their kids Hajar, name their kids hard and harsh names. Why? So that when the enemy hears that, there's someone who is going to fight with us and his name is Anchor or his name is Stone, they get a bit afraid because every person has a share of their name. So they were this type of society. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says to Mu'adh radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and Mu'adh was the alim of this ummah. He says to Mu'adh, Wallahi inni la uhibbuka. Wallahi I love you. Wallahi, imagine a man saying to another man, Wallahi I love you. And then he said to Mu'adh, verily I give you a wasiyah, I give you some sort of advice. What is the, do you think Mu'adh would ever forget this advice? After the Prophet ﷺ says to him, Wallahi, ya Mu'adh, I love you. You think he's going to forget that advice? This might have been one of those teaching methodologies used by the Messenger ﷺ to attract the attention of someone, to make sure that this person would not forget again. Sometimes he would hold the person, sometimes he would hug the person and then mention some information. And he says to Mu'adh that do not forget at the end of every single salah that you should say, Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. Oh Allah, you help me to perform this ibadah, and you help me in your remembrance. You make it easy, and you make me complete and perfect my acts of worship. Subhanallah. The Messenger ﷺ, and many a times we skip this hadith because it's tough on the nafs. The Messenger ﷺ, in an authentic hadith reported by Imam Abu Dawud, he states that إِذَا أَحَبَّ الرَّجُلْ أَخَاهُ فَلْيُخْبِرْهُ أَنَّهُ يُحِبُّهُ. That if you love your brother, then inform your brother that you love him. If you love your brother, then inform your brother that you love him. And the Sahaba were seated, and one of them said to the other, you know what, Ya Rasulullah, this man who walked past, you know, Wallahi, I love this man. Did you inform him? Did you inform him that you love him? The man said, no, Ya Rasulullah, I did not. Prophet ﷺ said that, go and tell him that you love him. How's he going to know? Go and tell him that you love him for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if someone says to you that I love you for the sake of Allah, then what do you say? أَحَبَّكَ الَّذِي أَحْبَبْتَنِي فِيهِ. That may Allah love you. May the one who you loved me for his sake. You loved me for whose sake? You loved me for the sake of Allah. So may the one who you loved me for his sake also love you. And obviously every single Jummah, you know, the Imams, they come and talk, you know, ilm and amal and learning and implementing, etc., etc. So why not? Why not, brothers? Why not turn to the right and say to the brother on your right, Wallahi brother, I love you for the sake of Allah. And he says the same to you, Wallahi, I love you for the sake of Allah. And sometimes, you know, it's much easier in Arabic. You know, the English loud, it's a bit hard on the nafs, Jayid. So you can say it in Arabic, uhibbuka fillah. Do it. Do it. Turn to your brother. Why not? Turn to your right and say, I love you for the sake of Allah. And he says, I love you for the sake of Allah. Jayid? I mean, you never knew this brother. Now, inshallah, now the next time he sees your face, you know, outside the masjid, he knows this was the man who loves me for the sake of Allah. You know, how are you, brother? How's your family? How's this? At least you already in the masjid. For the past 10 years, you're making salah here. You saw him 50,000 times here. Not once did you ever make salam to him, subhanallah. The Messenger ﷺ states that if you want this love to increase between one another, what can we do? Tahaddu tahabbu. That give gifts to one another. I mean, many have expensive cars here, but we won't go there. We won't go there, inshallah. It's a credit crunch now. The least you can do is, during the credit crunch, is smile to the face of your brother. The Messenger ﷺ states, At-tabassumu fi wajhi akhiq sadaqa. That tell the brother, leave them serious to me, but what I'll give you, inshallah, is something better. I give you a smile, inshallah. And how unfortunate it is. And sometimes if you want a smile from the face of your brother, you know, you probably have to take him to a dentist, you know, to get a smile out of him. Allahumma musta'an. Jarir ibn Abdullah, he states, مَا رَآنِي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ إِلَّا تَبَسَّمْ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never ever saw me except that he smiled. Subhanallah. Imagine those, you know, those few muscles which it takes just to smile. What a difference it makes. You feel better yourself by smiling. The man who sees you also feels better. I mean, he sees you early in the morning and your face is so sad. Your face is all growled up, Allahumma musta'an, and groggy. مَا رَآنِي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ إِلَّا تَبَسَّمْ. And what did he go through, sallallahu alayhi wasallam? He was pelted, he was beaten, he was called a liar, he was called a soothsayer. He went to Ta'if and they beat him up. They said, nobody else came with the message but you. Allah could not find anyone but you. They said to him at Hudaybiyah, I mean, Muhammad, you have all the scum of the earth gathered with you. The Quraysh, they have their women, their children, their men, everyone will stand and they will not allow you into Makkah al-Mukarramah. And they said all of this, and still when he meets someone, he smiles. I mean, subhanallah. He had stones tied to his stomach. He leaves his house at the time when people are asleep. He comes across Abu Bakr and Umar and he asks them, what brought you out of your houses at this time? They said, Ya Rasulullah, nothing but hunger. What brought you out, Ya Rasulullah, at this time, the afternoon, Qaylula time? He says, nothing but hunger. And one of the companions saw them and invited them to his house. What did they have? Lack of better words, a half-dead goat and some dry bread. After eating this, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam states, Wallahi, we will have to answer for this ni'mah. What ni'mah we'll say? I mean, half dead goat and some dry bread. What ni'mah, ya Rasulullah? We left our homes in a state of hunger and we go back to our homes with our stomachs filled. Subhanallah. And still you would smile when you would see people? So what's stopping you, ya Abdullah, ya Amat Allah? Tahadu tahabu, give gifts to one another. Because this book means someone gives you some money. I mean, no doubt, money and wealth has a way to the hearts. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would give people the sheep between this mountain and that mountain. This man goes off to his people and he says, I'm coming from a person who does not fear poverty. This is what he's given me. You all come, embrace al-Islam. Subhanallah. And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if anyone asked from him, he would give. Tahadu tahabu, he says, who said? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That give gifts, for verily it has an effect on the hearts. If a man helps you out, Wallahu fi awni al-abd, ma kana al-abdu fi awni akhi. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in the aid, is in the help of a brother, for as long as the brother is in the aid of one another, is in the aid of his other brother. In the last 2 minutes, and no doubt once we have this ukhuwa and we have this brotherhood, does it mean that we will not have problems? No, we will have problems. You have two brothers brought up in the same house, brought up by the same mother, in the same house, same family, same upbringing environment. But subhanallah, they have different likes, they have different tastes, and so we will have disagreements. And we will see things differently. And there will be jealousy, and there will be enmity, and there will be all of these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the noble Quran that if there is qital between the brothers, if there is qital between the believers, if there is fighting and killing between the brothers, between the Muslims, then make islah. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. And so make islah between the brothers. Allah didn't say now, make islah between the enemies. No, yes, you're an enemy to one another, but still, you are a brother to your Muslim brother. He might be Shafi, you might be Hanafi, you might not have a madhab, he might be this, you might be that, Somali, whatever. But subhanallah, our common denominator is La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. And no doubt, we're living in a time that probably most of us have never experienced when it comes to disunity and it comes to differences of opinion. You all know about the Maulana, that his wife asked him, that, do you love me? What did he say to her? He says that if you asked me maybe 10 years ago, I would have said yes. But today, if you ask me, I'm going to tell you there's ikhtilaf, there's 3 opinions on the matter. I mean, you got Sandton, you got this, and you got that, and Iksa. I mean, you know the issues, we know the issues. But subhanallah, we should never allow that which is impossible to achieve to destroy that which is possible to achieve. Meaning, that is it within your control, yourself Abdullah, yourself Jawad and Muhammad and Sulaiman, is it within your control to unite every single Muslim in South Africa onto one opinion? Do you have that ability? Jawad, do you have that ability? No, you don't. Do I have that ability? No, I don't. Jayid. But do you have the ability to keep your mouth closed when there's an issue which comes up, when there's a problem, when there's ghiba and namima, when it comes to speaking bad about your brother or speaking bad about your sister, causing strife and enmity? Do you have that ability to keep your mouth closed? Do you have that? Yes, I have that ability. So do not prevent the impossible certain things for you to achieve. But there are certain matters which are possible and within your realm. And if you fall short, you will be responsible. So do not let the impossible, which you cannot achieve, prevent you from attaining the possible. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا. بإذن الله تعالى, there are some pamphlets outside, and there is a course taking place in Johannesburg this weekend entitled The Believer's Mark, the fiqh of purification. Everything from the time one discusses the matters of water, what is najis, what is filthy, what is not filthy, how do I perform wudu, what breaks wudu, some blood came out from my hand, is my wudu broken or not? Husband and wife, they get married, they ask the question, is semen something which is najis? We know I was created from that semen, so was I created from something najis? What about the issues, the regulations pertaining to ghusl, the matters pertaining to menstruation with regards to a female? I saw a brother in my local masjid and he was wiping over his cotton socks. What's going on? Where did this come from? All of these matters, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, to be discussed in the course, The Believer's Mark, presented by the al-kauthar Institute, and there are pamphlets outside. Hayyakumullah, jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And tonight, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, there is also a talk in this masjid between Salat al-Maghrib and Salat al-Isha. entitled A to Z of Love and Mercy, the Fiqh of Marriage and Divorce. حياك الله.